Excelsior Springs, Missouri, our small town with a rich history, is often remembered for its mineral waters and early 20th century charm. But hidden within its streets is a story of innovation, determination, and adaptability. A story that shaped the town's transformation from the era of horses to the age of the automobile. The citizens of Excelsior Springs embraced change, transforming their community's livelihood and transportation in ways that still echo today. The story of Excelsior Springs is more than just bricks and mortar. It's about the spirit of innovation that powered this transformation. From the sound of horse hooves to the roar of engines, this is the story of how Excelsior Springs rode the wave of technological change. In the late 1800s, Excelsior Springs was like many other small American towns, bustling with activity, yet completely reliant on horses for transportation. Horses weren't just a way to get around. They were essential to the economy, powering everything from deliveries to transportation. Livery stables, businesses that housed, fed, bought and sold, and cared for horses, were the heart of the town's commerce. Excelsior Springs had 5 stables in its downtown area, including notable establishments like the Keystone Stable, Saratoga Barn, and Hyder Feed and Stable. These weren't just places to park your horse. They were community hubs where deals were made, supplies were exchanged, and stories were told. Excelsior Springs was a town that thrived on horsepower, the literal kind. But in just a few short decades, this reliance would be dramatically upended by a new and powerful force, the automobile. Among the town's livery businesses, one stood out, the McDavid brothers. With their large stable operations, they were well known not just in Excelsior Springs, but beyond. During World War I, they supplied horses to the U.S. Army, shipping them by the railcar load to support the war effort. Their success reflected the vital role horses still played in that era. But even as they thrived in the horse trade, the McDavid brothers sensed the winds of change. The rise of the automobile was impossible to ignore. By 1913, just a few years after Henry Ford revolutionized the automobile industry with the Model T, the McDavid brothers began selling cars right out of their livery stable. It was a bold move that reflected their ability to adapt to the times. The McDavid brothers weren't just horsemen, they were pioneers in a new era of transportation. The arrival of automobiles in Excelsior Springs wasn't just about new technology, it represented a hinge in time with significant cultural and economic shifts. As early as 1905, Higbee's drugstore was offering motorized rides for hire, long before most people had even seen a car. Excelsior Springs was getting a taste of the future, though it was not always a smooth transition. The roads in town weren't designed for cars. They were muddy and impassable in bad weather, causing frustration for early adopters. But while the town's infrastructure struggled to catch up, the allure of the automobile was undeniable. By 1917, the shift from horses to cars was in full swing, and the town was changing with it. For many businesses, the rise of the automobile was a turning point. Some livery stables closed their doors, unable to compete with the growing demand for cars. But for the McDavid brothers, this change was an opportunity. By 1913, they had converted their stable into a car dealership and were selling cars right alongside the horses. Theirs was the only one of the 5 original livery stables to make the transition into the automotive age. In 1919, B.C. Hedges established the first Ford dealership in Excelsior Springs at the former Elms Garage location, where the Tipton Law Office is now located. In 1924, Hedges sold the Ford dealership to a local businessman named Delbert Nelson. The building, that had been the Elms Garage, was sold to Hedges' father-in-law, Dr. A.C. McCleary. That same year, the new Elms Garage was built on the corner of St. Louis and Kansas City Avenue, where George Russell sold Essex cars from 1924 until at least 1948. Meanwhile, the McDavid's entrepreneurial spirit took new paths, as they added a bus service to Kansas City in direct competition with the interurban electric trolley. Around this same time, a new type of garage entered the scene. Monster garages, they were called. The most significant of these was the Silvers Garage on Thompson Avenue, where Harry Silvers built his new auto sales and service building in October of 1917. When it was built, it was the largest Dodge and Chrysler dealership west of the Mississippi River. The building still stands, and today houses Brenda and Mark Kilgore's 414 company of several shops and a cafe. The road to success wasn't without obstacles. After the McDavid brothers, the McGinnis brothers took over the dealership in 1948. However, just months after acquiring the business, a devastating fire tore through their building on South Street, causing an estimated $250,000 in damages. The fire was a huge blow to the community and the business, but the McGinnis brothers were resilient. They rebuilt the dealership and continued selling cars, even branching into the used car market, offering vehicles at prices that seem unimaginable today, just $75 for a used car. In 1953, the torch was passed once again. Orville Dixon, a man known for his entrepreneurial spirit, took over the Ford dealership. He ran the business for 16 years on South Street before deciding to build a new, modern facility on Jesse James Road in 1969. This move marked the beginning of a new era for the dealership, solidifying its place as a central part of the community's automotive landscape. In 1974, Chuck Anderson took over the dealership, and under his leadership, it has remained a family-owned business for the past 50 years, continuing the legacy started by the McDavid brothers so many years before. But the story of Excelsior Springs isn't just about businesses and automobiles, it's about the people who lived through these changes. A local banker made headlines in 1919 for building a house with a special resting apartment for his new car, showing just how exciting new car ownership was. In 1926, children were trading old tires for model airplanes at a local garage, highlighting the sense of wonder that accompanied these technological advances. Even in the midst of rapid change, some things like the simple joys of childhood remained constant. Today, the automotive dealerships in Excelsior Springs, Chuck Anderson Ford, Roberts Robinson Chevrolet, and Heartland Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram all have their own long history of service to the community and stand as symbols of adaptation and resilience. From humble beginnings as livery stables to today's modern car dealerships, these businesses have been shaped by the hands of many, each leaving their mark on its storied history. The story of the McDavid brothers, the McGinnis brothers, the Orville Dixon family, and the Chuck Anderson family is a reminder that in a world of constant change, those who adapt can leave a legacy that lasts for generations. The evolution from horses to horsepower in Excelsior Springs is more than just a tale of technological advancement. It's a story of the ingenuity and perseverance of the people who live here.